Allah in this particular ayah, He talks about that if you are the wali of Allah, because the ayah says, Ya ayyuhalladhina hadu in za'antum annakum awliya'u lillahi min dunin nas. If you are really those who think that you are the chosen one, that you are the awliya of Allah, that you are the chosen one, then one of the characteristics of the awliya of Allah would be that they would desire death. So why is it that you don't desire death? See, the function of the prophets that were sent down by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was to awaken the inner nature of the human being and the inner being of that individual, so that he may be able to evaluate himself as to who he really is. And the Quran is very clear here in outlining the signs of the wali. The Quran, you see, just like a physician makes a diagnosis, right? So if a patient presents in front of a physician and they have certain symptomatology, for example, they say that they have increased thirst and they have increased urination and they feel tired and they feel fatigue. And when all those symptoms come together, the physicians can say that, yes, I think you have diabetes. So there are certain signs that are presented wherein a physician makes a diagnosis. In similarity, in this ayah, the Quran is saying that one of the signs of the wali is that he would have a desire for death. That's one of the signs and one of the symptoms of an awliya of Allah, that he, one of the chosen ones, one of the friends of God, one of those people who are closest to God, one of those characteristics is that he would have a desire for death. Now, the question, of course, comes, and Ayatollah Mutahari asks this question. And Ayatollah Mutahari, he says that, can death really be something that is desirable? Can everyone really feel that death is desirable? So he breaks it down into three components. And he says that there are really three schools of thought. The first school of thought says that death is desirable for everybody. And this school of thought basically says that everyone has a desire for death. Why? Because in this school of thought, they say, this is because the relationship of a human being to this world is like the relationship that a prisoner has with the prison that he's in. The relationship of the soul with its body is such that the soul feels imprisoned in its body. And because it feels imprisoned in the body, it has a desire to free itself, and the only way it can free itself is through death. He says it's like a bird who is in a cage, a free bird, not one of the budgies that we trap, who are pets. But a free bird, if you were to encage a free bird, the desire for that free bird would be to escape and to become free. So this school of thought is saying that this is what everyone is. Everyone's soul is imprisoned in their body. And they have a desire to be freed. And hence, the only way towards freedom is death, because that's when the soul detaches from the body and from the imprisonment of the body, and it becomes free again. This school of thought also believes that the soul, when it comes into this world, it comes in the most perfect and complete sense. The soul is complete and it's perfect. But when it attaches to the body and when it gets imprisoned in the body, it now becomes imperfect and it becomes deficient. And that is why it has a desire to free itself. from that imperfection, right, and become free again and retain its perfection back again. So this is the first school of thought. The second school of thought is completely the opposite. This school of thought is based on materialism and the attachment to this world. And this school of thought believes that nobody actually has a desire for death. Why? Because they believe that life and death starts and ends in this world. For this school of thought, death is destruction and life is existence. Therefore, this school believes that at any cost, what you want to do is to stay alive. Because in this world, death means destruction and death means the end. It's done. It's all over. Therefore, life in any form is better than death. This second school of thought is a school of thought that is attached to the dunya. It's attached to the world. It has a materialistic attachment to the world. For this school of thought, beyond this world, there is nothing else. So why would there be any desire for death? Let me illustrate this with an example for you. There is an example that if you look at the books of Irfan, you will find the books of spirituality. This example is given a lot. So you may have heard it, but bear with me if you've heard it. So this example is of a young boy, a young man, who is running in the jungle. He's running in the jungle because there is a lion who is chasing this boy. So he's running away from the lion, and the lion is chasing it. And he's scared. He's running from the lion, and he tries to see with himself, how can I save myself? In the distance, he sees that there is a well, and there is a pole that is hanging from the well. And on that pole, there is a rope. So he thinks to himself that if I can just make it to that well, and I can just dive in and hang on to that rope, I'll be able to save myself. So the lion is after him. He's running. He runs so fast that he gets to the well. He jumps in. He clings onto that rope, and now he is swinging back and forth in the well. Dangling in the well, back and forth. The lion comes on top of the well. He looks up at the lion. He's safe. He's dangling in the well. And he thinks to himself, if I can just hang on for a little while, this lion's going to go away. At that time, he does something that he's not supposed to do. He looks down at the well. When he looks down at the well, he sees a crocodile. And you guys know crocodiles much more than I do, alhamdulillah, in Florida, yes? He sees a crocodile who comes up with his mouth wide open. Lion on top, crocodile at the bottom, and he's dangling in the middle. And he thinks to himself, if I can just hang on for a few more minutes, one of these are going to go away. As he's dangling in the well, he starts to hear a scratching noise. And he looks up and he sees that there are two mice, one white and one black. And those mice are eating away at the rope, ever so slowly eating away at the rope. He's dangling, lion on top, croc in the bottom, and these two mice eating away at that rope that he is clinging onto. The story basically says that the lion represents death, chasing you at all times. The mouth of the crocodile that's open is the grave waiting for you. And the black mouse and the white mouse represent day and night. Black mouse representing night, the white mouse representing day, slowly chewing away at the rope of life. That's the state that we're in. That's who we are. But in this chaos, as he's dangling away, he suddenly smells something. And he smells some honey. And he looks around, and he looks at the wall of the well. And he sees there is some honey on the wall of the well. So he swings back and forth, because now he feels hungry. He swings back and forth, and he gets to the wall of the well. And he says, Alhamdulillah. He starts to eat the honey because he's feeling hungry. He's now so engrossed in eating away the honey that he forgets about the lion, he forgets about the crocodile, and he forgets about the black mouse, and he forgets about the white mouse. And that honey that has completely engrossed him is the dunya, is the world. The Urafa call it ad-dunya al-mal'una. It is that dunya that makes him forget about everything around him. He now goes into a state of heedlessness, a state of ghafla, because he's so engrossed in it. And that, my friends, is a parable that we have. This is exactly like we are. Death chasing us, grave waiting for us, right? Time eating away at the rope of our life, yet we are engrossed in this dunya in such a way that we are heedless of everything. That's the second school of thought. The third school of thought is the school of thought, of course, that we believe in. And in this school of thought, it says that there are many who will have death as being desirable for them. And then there are many others for whom death is not desirable. So it's not like the first school of thought where everybody desires death, and it's not like the second school of thought where nobody desires death. Here, some desire death, and some do not desire death. It depends on who you are and what you have made of yourself. Some people have the right to desire for death. This school does not believe that death means destruction and end in this world. Nor does it believe that when the soul comes into this world, it comes in the most perfect and most complete form. No, this school believes that the soul is eternal. It believes that the soul is eternal, but it did not come into this world in a most complete and perfect way. This school believes that it was imprisoned, but it was here as an imperfect soul. It was not a complete soul, it was imperfect. It was underdeveloped in this world. The soul has the potential, it has the capacity to realize perfection, but for the soul to be able to realize perfection, it needs this dunya. It needs this world. It needs to go through its trials. It needs to go through its tribulations so that through that it can purify itself and become perfect in its nature. And when that soul reaches the perfection, then it becomes an awliya who has a desire for death. And until that time that the soul has not been activated and its full potential has not been realized, it still has work to do in this world. Therefore, the relationship of the soul in this world is like that of a relationship of a farmer with its farm, or the relationship of a student with its school. See, the farmer basically, is a person who puts a lot of effort in to farm. He actually makes sure that the environment is right, the soil is correct, all the environment around its farm is appropriate for the thing to grow, for the plants to grow, for the plants and the trees to be able to bear fruit, right? The student puts all its efforts in its studies, in his or her studies, so that he knows that if he is able to put his efforts and full efforts in his studies, only then will he be able to pass the exams and become something like a professional in his career. So this is what this school of thought is about. The student has to put effort to get a good mark and a good degree. The farmer has to put effort in order to get a good crop so that it can bear good fruit so he's able to sell it. This is how the person gets perfection. And what happens is that the farmer tries its best to make the best effort to get the best outcome. The student makes his or her best effort and studies really hard to get its best outcome. And when they put their efforts, then they are eagerly awaiting the results of it, aren't they? The student who studies really hard and then gives the exam comes out of that exam very confident that I've done really well. Now that student is awaiting for the results to come. The other student who has not put any effort in, he has not studied very hard, he's just used the time to party all the time, he's not put any effort. When he gives the exam, he knows that he has not done well. He doesn't eagerly await what the results are. He doesn't want to know what the results are, right? And that's the analogy that Hadith gives us about this third school of thought. Amir al-Mu'mineen ibn Abi Talib, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, he says that this dunya is a place of revelation, a place where the awliya use the dunya to do its business. This is what Ali ibn Abi Talib says. The dunya is for us to be able to do our business. And the Holy Prophet has said that this dunya is actually a farm where the farmer has to put its efforts for the hereafter. This is an analogy that the Holy Prophet gives us. Whatever you sow here, you will harvest in the hereafter. This is how this ayah is explained. This ayah is explained because those who have not sent their good deeds forward, those people who have not made the effort and sent their good deeds forward will therefore never desire death. Only those who have performed well and put efforts to purify and realize their potential, they are the ones who will desire death. And that is why the ayah says, that not if you are human you will desire death. The ayah says if you are the awliya of Allah, you will desire death. If you are the awliya of Allah, then you will desire death. Because if you are a sinner, death will never be something pleasant for you. Only if you have purified yourself and you have reached that potential, you have elevated yourself to that extent, then you will say to yourself, I'm ready, and I'm ready to go now. There is a desire of death that comes into you. Rumi says that when you are afraid of death, in effect, you are actually not afraid of death. You are afraid of your own real inner reality. That's what you're afraid of. You're seeing your inner reality when you are afraid of death. He says death is like a mirror through which the human being is witnessing his own reflection. And if he sees in front of him something that's good, then he desires it. And if he sees in front of him something that's ugly, then he wants to throw the mirror away, not realizing that the mirror is just a mere reflection of him. The issue is his own self. So of course now a question arises, right? And the question is that if I desire something, then should I not try to achieve it? So the question of suicide comes here. If I desire death, should I not try to achieve it? So the question of suicide comes here. But the awliya are those who, despite the desire of death in their lives, in their own lives, they still fight against death. Why do they fight against death? Because they know, they are people who know that what we want to do is we want to absolutely maximize our efforts in this world, use this dunya to the maximum potential of what it can give you, because through that I will be able to elevate myself higher and higher, so that when I go into the hereafter, I will be at the most highest position with the proximity of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So they want to put their maximum efforts. They desire death, but they also pray for a long life. They pray for a long life because they want to use the potential of this dunya to its maximum effect. And this is why our fourth Imam, Imam Zainul Abidin, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, in Dua Makarimul Akhlaq, the fourth Imam says that, "O Allah, give me life only until that time that I am in your obedience. Give me life only until that time that I am in your obedience. As soon as I'm in the position to be taken away by shaitan, take my life away." Imam Sajjad. وَأَمَرْنِي مَا كَانَ أُمْرِي بِذَلَّةٍ فِي طَاعَتِكَ فَإِذَا كَانَ أُمْرِي فِي مُرْتَاءَ لِلشَّيْطَانِ فَاخْبِزْنِي إِلَيْكَ قَبْلَ أَنْ يَسْبِكَ مَقْتُكَ إِلَيْكَ. He says that let me live as long as my life is a free gift in your obedience. But if my life should become a pasture for shaitan, seize me into yourself before your hatred overtakes me. Imam Sajjad. Of course, there are jurisprudential reasons for why suicide is not allowed. Yes? because we talk about it is an amana from Allah and so on and so forth. Ayatollah Mutahari says, however, that the definition of suicide is actually to refrain yourself from the opportunity to carry out good deeds and obedience of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in this world. Use this world. This using of this world to be able to elevate yourself towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not ad-dunya al-mal'una. Huh? That's the other dunya. That's the other dunya. When people talk about attachment to this world, they are talking about that attachment which makes you heedless, which creates a ghaflat inside of you. This dunya is a dunya where you use the potential of this dunya to elevate yourself. The Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he gathered his ashab in Masjid-Al-Nabawi. And he said, I'm going to tell you a story. So the ashab of the Prophet gathered in Masjid-Al-Nabawi. And the Holy Prophet tells them a story. And he says to them, and this is for my young brothers that are here, especially the children. And he says to them that there was a man who was in a town, and he found out that the angel of death, Malakul Maut, was looking for him. And it was the end of his life. So this man got scared that Malakul Maut was looking. This is the Prophet. He's now narrating the story to his companions. So he says that this man became afraid, and he wanted to run away from the angel of death. And so he went to his best friend's house. His best friend. He knocked on the door of his best friend's house. And he says, the angel of death is after me. I need your help, man. Why don't you give me some refuge? And this best friend of him says, look, he says, you are my best friend. And I will do anything for you whilst you're alive. But as soon as the angel of death comes, Malakul Maut, he says, I'm out of here. Please. So he closes the door. So he thinks to himself and he says, well, I have this other friend. He's not my best friend, but he's a pretty good friend of mine. Why don't I go to his house? So he rushes to his second friend's house, knocks on the door. The second friend opens the door. He says, Malakul Maut is after me. What can you do for me? Can you help me? And the second friend says that, look, I'll help you. When he comes and you die, he will make sure that you will get ghusl. And I will make sure that you will have coffin. No, not only that. I will make sure that I will put you in the coffin. I will even pray namaz al-janazah behind you. No, not only that, but I will actually take you all the way to the cemetery and I will make sure you are buried. But after you are 6 feet under, I'm done. That's all I can do for you. So this man was still not happy with that option. So then he thought to himself, now what do I do? So he thought to himself, well, I have a third friend. He's not close. He's just an acquaintance. Sometimes, when I used to go to visit a certain city, I used to take favors from him. So it's not that close, but, let me see, let me try. So he goes to his third friend's house. He did not have a lot of hope. He did not have much. And this third friend says to him, he says, don't worry. When you are 6 feet under, I will come with you. I will be with you throughout the time that you are in your grave. Not only that, I will be with you in barzakh. Not only that, I will be with you and guide you through that bridge, the Pul-e-Sirat. No, not only that, I will make sure I will hold your hand until you reach the gates of heaven. And the Holy Prophet said to him, to the people, to his companions, tell me, who are those three friends? And of course, the companions looked at the Holy Prophet and they were a little bit dumbfounded. And they said, Ya Rasulullah, we don't know. He said, the first friend, who was his best friend, who had said to him that I will be with you in this world, but after that, I don't want to know because I don't want to face the angel of death, is your wealth and your assets. The dunya that you are so attached to is your fast friend, your best friend. And he says, your second friend, your second best friend, the Holy Prophet said, the one that says that I will take you to the grave, I'll recite namaz al-janazah, I'll give you ghusl, I'll give you kafan, I'll bury you. Those are your family, your friends, and your children. But the third friend, whom you have ignored all this time, because he's not your best friend, you just had no hope in him when you went to see him, when that man went to see him, that third friend of yours is your amal and your good deeds. For that is your friend that will accompany you all the way through to the gates of heaven. So this, my friends, are the three groups, the three schools of thoughts. And the school of thought that we belong to are that school of thought where we want to elevate ourselves, where we want to use this dunya by performing good deeds, by performing good actions, by building our character in a way that we use this dunya and the trials and tribulations of this dunya to elevate ourselves so that our soul realizes its potential and reaches the perfection that it is supposed to reach. And when we get to the stage where we become the awliya, because all of us have the capacity to become the awliya of Allah, within our own capacity. Of course, not to the capacity of the Holy Prophet or the Ahlul-bayt, but within our own capacity we can become an awliya. When we reach that potential, when we reach that capacity, then you will see that there is a desire for that. فَتَمَنَّوُا الْمَوْتَ إِن كُنْتُمْ صَادِقِينَ. If you love the hereafter so much, why is it that you don't desire death? And you see this in Karbala. You see this in Karbala, in the shaheed that we are going to talk about tonight. Because the person that we're talking about tonight is a youth of Karbala. He's a youngster of Karbala. If you were to have a role model and the youth cannot say, okay, we will reach that point where we desire death, when we get old, now we have fun. But see, when we get old, we will desire death and we'll reach that point. No. Look at this youth of Karbala, for that's what he teaches us. He goes to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, Shah Qasim. Hazrat Qasim goes to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and he says to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, he says to him, oh my uncle, I know that you have a list of people who are going to be martyred tomorrow. Is my name on the list? The son of Hassan al-Mujtaba, the son of Imam Hassan alayhi salam, he says, am I on the list? And Imam says to Qasim, he says, Qasim, come close to me. And Qasim comes close to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. And he says, sit next to me. And Hazrat Qasim sits next to Imam Hussein alayhi salam. And Qasim says that, look, tell me, how do you find death? How do you find death, Qasim? And look at the answer of a 13-year-old youth in Karbala. For he is a role model for our youth. He has elevated himself to such an extent that he has a desire for death, wherein he replies to Imam Hussein, "Oh my uncle, I find death sweeter than honey." Elevation, spiritual elevation. You cannot say Qasim was an Imam, he was the Prophet. No, he was a youth of Karbala. Yet he's reached that point where he can say, yes, it is sweeter than honey. I have realized the full potential of my soul. The son of Imam al-Hasan alayhi salam comes to Imam Hussein on the day of Ashura. And he comes to Imam Hussein and he says to Abu Abdullah, he says, "I want permission to go into the battlefield to fight." Imam looks at Hazrat Qasim, and when he looks at Qasim, he starts to cry. He says, "Qasim, whenever I want to remember my brother Hassan, I look at your face and I smell the fragrance of your body. For when I look at your face and smell your fragrance, it reminds me of my brother Al-Hasan alayhi salam." At that time, the mother of Hazrat Qasim, Farwa, she hears that Imam Hussein is not giving permission to Qasim. She comes to Janab Zainab and she says to Janab Zainab, "Oh Zainab, go and ask Imam Hussein, go and ask Abu Abdullah to come outside my tent, for I have something to ask her." Imam Hussein comes outside the tent of Farwa, and Farwa says to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein, "Oh my master, why is it that you are not giving permission to my Qasim to go and fight? Is it because I am a widow? For if today my husband Hassan would have been alive, even you would have had to ask permission of my husband Hassan." Imam starts to cry. At that time, Qasim remembers something. He remembers that on the deathbed of his father Imam al-Hasan, in his last wasiyah, in his last moments, had given Qasim a small taweez. And he had said to Qasim, "Qasim, when you are in a situation where it is the most toughest of all of situations, at that time, open this taweez, but do not open it before then." At that time, Qasim thought to himself, what could be the worst time than this time? So he goes, he takes that amulet, he takes that taweez and he opens it. And when he opens the taweez, he sees that there are two letters in it. One letter was for Qasim, the other letter was for Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Qasim opens his letter and Imam al-Hasan writes to Qasim, "Oh my son Qasim, no doubt you will open this letter at the time when my brother Abu Abdullah would have been surrounded by the enemies. When you reach that moment, give this letter to my brother Abu Abdullah al-Hussein." Qasim now smiles. He has that desire for martyrdom. He comes to Imam al-Hussein. He gives that letter to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein. Hussein sees the letter of Imam al-Hasan. He starts to cry, for he remembers the time when the janazah of Imam al-Hasan was going in towards Masjid al-Nabawi, and they pierced 70 arrows in the janazah of Imam al-Hasan. Hussein starts to cry. He opens the letter. In the letter, Imam Hassan says, "Oh Abu Abdullah, Qasim will come to you for permission, and I ask that you give Qasim permission to go to the battlefield, for he will be sacrificed on my behalf." When Hussein sees this, he now gives permission to Qasim, and the historians write that Imam Hussein alayhi salam, he dresses Qasim himself, but the historians write he dresses Qasim in such a way as if he is putting the amama of kafan on the head of Qasim. He puts a white cloth on the body of Qasim as if he is putting the kafan on the body of Qasim. The Qasim goes into the battlefield. As Qasim goes into the battlefield, Umar ibn Sa'ad says to his most biggest warrior, whose name was Arzak. His name was Arzak Shami. He says to Arzak Shami, Arzak, I want you to go and kill Qasim. Arzak stands up and he laughs at Umar ibn Sa'ad. He says to Umar ibn Sa'ad, oh Umar ibn Sa'ad, do you know who I am? I am Arzak, for I am one person who's equivalent to 1,000 on the other side. Don't embarrass me by going to fight this young boy. He says, I have 4 sons. They are enough for this young boy. Arzak sends his first son. Arzak's first son comes onto the battlefield. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam is standing. He is watching the fight of Qasim. Abul Fadl Abbas comes and joins him. Abul Fadl Abbas says to Abu Abdullah, oh my master, pray for my Qasim that he kills the son of Arzak. Arzak's first son comes. Qasim fights the first son and kills the first son. Arzak's second son comes now. Abul Fadl Abbas says to Abu Abdullah, oh Abu Abdullah, do dua for my Qasim. Abu Abdullah says to Abbas, do not worry. He is the grandson of Amirul Mu'mineen. He is the grandson of the Holy Prophet. At that time, the second son of Arzak is also killed. Then the third son of Arzak comes. Now Abul Fadl Abbas says, oh Abu Abdullah, oh my master, the third son of Arzak has come. My Qasim has been thirsty and hungry for 3 days. Please do dua. Hussein talks to Fizza in the Khaymaga. He says to Fizza, tell Farwa to be on the Musalla, for the third son of Arzak has come. Tell her to do dua. Farwa goes into the Khayma. She goes into Sajda. She does dua for Hazrat Qasim. The third and fourth son are killed by Qasim. When all 4 sons of Arzak have been killed by Qasim, Arzak himself now becomes angry. He becomes agitated. And now Arzak takes a sword and he goes into the battlefield. Now Abul Fadl does not come to Abbas. Abul Fadl Abbas does not come to Imam Hussein to request Imam Hussein to do dua. Abul Fadl now comes to Abu Abdullah and says, oh my master, Arzak himself has come onto the battlefield. Now give me permission that I go into the battlefield. At that time Abu Abdullah says, do not worry Abbas, for this is my Qasim. The history writes that Qasim also kills Arzak. When Arzak and his 4 sons are killed in Karbala, Umar ibn Sa'ad now says that now go and attack Qasim together. Do not attack him one-on-one, for this is the grandson of Ali ibn Abi Talib. They surround Qasim. They start throwing stones at Qasim and they start showering arrows at Qasim. One narration says that over 30 arrows were showered into the body of Qasim. Over 30 arrows were showered into the body of Qasim. And then one Mal'oon comes forward. As this Mal'oon comes forward, he takes the end of the spear. He pierces the spear into the back of Qasim. And the spear goes into the back of Qasim. It comes out from the front in the chest of Qasim. Qasim starts to wobble on his horseback. He now falls onto the grounds of Karbala. When Qasim falls onto the grounds of Karbala, he now says, Assalamu alayka ya Amma, ya Amma adrikni. Oh my uncle, save me, for I have now fallen onto the grounds of Karbala. Azadaro, किसी ने कासिम के ऊपर पत्थर बरसाए, तीरों की बारिश हुई. अजादारा ने हुसैन, किसी ने आके कासिम کو نیزہ مارا ہے، سینے میں نیزہ اس طرح سے پیوست ہوا ہے کہ قاسم گھوڑے پہ ڈگمگا رہا ہے۔ ایک مرتبہ جب زمین کربلا میں قاسم آیا ہے، قاسم نے آواز دی السلام علیک یا اما ادرکنی، آئے میرے چچا جان قاسم کی ایک خبر لو۔ قاسم نے مدد کے لیے اپنے چچا جان کو اس طرح سے بلایا ہے کہ جب قاسم کی آواز حسین کے کانوں میں گونجی ہے تو مورخ لکھتے ہیں کہ حسین ایسی تیزی سے میدان کربلا میں گئے ہیں کہ فوجیوں نے یہ سوچا کہ شاید حسین لڑائی لڑنے کے لیے آیا ہے، لہٰذا فوجی بھاگنے لگے، مغرب کے گھوڑے مشرق کی طرف دوڑے، مشرق کے گھوڑے مغرب کی طرف دوڑے۔ عزادارو جب قاسم نے آواز دی تو قاسم قاسم تھا، جب حسین قاسم کے پاس آئے ہیں تو قاسم کی لاش گھوڑوں کے ٹاپوں سے پامال ہو گئی تھی، قاسم بکھر گیا تھا۔ امام حسین قاسم کے پاس آتے ہیں، قاسم واحد شہید ہے جن کی لاش قبل شہادت پامال ہوئی ہے، حسین کی لاش شہادت کے بعد پامال ہوئی ہے۔ قاسم وہ شہید ہے کہ قاسم زندہ تھا اور قاسم کی لاش پامال ہوئی ہے۔ عزادارو امام قاسم کے پاس آتے ہیں، امام جب لاش لاتے تھے تو کوئی لاش سینے سے اٹھا کے لائے ہیں یا پھر کاندھے پہ اٹھا کے لائے ہیں، ششما کی لاش ہاتھوں پہ اٹھا کے حسین لائے تھے۔ عزادارو جب قاسم کی لاش کا وقت آ گیا، امام نے اپنی عبا بچھائی، قاسم کے چہرے کو لیا، اپنے چہرے سے لگایا، ایک مرتبہ قاسم کی لاش کو اٹھایا، اس طرح سے خیمہ گاہ کی طرف لائے ہیں کہ قاسم کیا چہرہ امام کے چہرے کے ساتھ ہے، لیکن قاسم کے پیر سرزمین کربلا میں گھسیٹ گھسیٹ کے خیمہ گاہ کی طرف آتے ہیں۔ عزادارو حسین قاسم کی لاش لے کے آیا ہے، ایک مرتبہ خیمہ گاہ کے باہر جہاں علی اکبر کی لاش پڑی ہوئی تھی اس کے بالکل قریب میں قاسم کی لاش کو رکھا۔ اب زینب کو کہا زینب ام فروہ کو نہ بتانا کہ قاسم کی لاش آئی ہے، کیونکہ یہ ماں قاسم کی یہ حالت دیکھ کے برداشت نہیں کر سکے گی۔ عزادارو لیکن جب قاسم کی لاش آئی ہے، ایک مرتبہ ام فروہ خیمہ گاہ سے باہر نکلی ہے، قاسم کی لاش کو دیکھا، بیویوں کو اکٹھا کیا اور بیویوں سے کہا میں دعا کرتی ہوں تم آمین کہنا، دیکھو اللہ نے میری قربانی قبول کی ہے۔ عزادارو بس یہ کہنا تھا۔ حسین نے اپنا ایک ہاتھ علی اکبر کے سینے پہ رکھا اور دوسرا ہاتھ قاسم کے سینے پہ رکھا، ایک مرتبہ آسمان کی طرف دیکھ کے حسین کہتا ہے یا اللہ گواہ رہنا حسین نے اپنے دونوں بیٹوں کو قربان کیا ہے تاکہ دین بچ جائے۔ ام فروہ باہر نکلتی ہے، بیویوں کو اکٹھا کیا اور ام فروہ نے پھر گریہ شروع کیا، واہ قاسمہ واہ قاسمہ کی گریہ شروع ہوئی، زینب رونے لگی، سکینہ رونے لگی، قاسم پامال ہو گئی۔
لاتے ہیں لا شاہ سے مادر قاسم نے لاش پہ رو کر کہا آ گئی